Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into essentialism.
Yeah, based on that book by McKeown.
Exactly. And our mission, really, is to pull out the core ideas. You know, how to help you focus, get more done on what actually counts, and maybe dial down that feeling of being constantly swamped.
Absolutely.
Well,
We
yeah.
all know that feeling, right? Running between meetings, inbox just exploding,
Mhm.
feeling busy, but maybe not like productive on the important stuff. The source calls it majoring in minor activities.
Right. And that just leaves you feeling pretty unfulfilled, doesn't it?
Totally. That sense of being pulled everywhere, trying to learn things, stay on top. It's a lot.
It really is. So we're going straight to this core question that seems to hit home for a lot of smart, ambitious people.
Mm.
What if you could figure out the one thing you could do right now that would make the biggest difference?
That question is key. It really gets to the heart of essentialism. The book draws this really clear line between that mindset and what it calls the non-essentialist way. So, non-essentialists, they tend to think almost everything is essential. Everything needs attention.
Which leads to feeling like you have to say yes to everything.
Exactly. You feel obligated. Whereas the essentialists, they flip it. They believe almost everything is non-essential noise.
Okay, that's a big shift. So the essentialist actively chooses. They're in control.
Right. They choose where to put their energy. The non-essentialists, well, they often end up reacting, letting other people's agendas run their lives because they feel they have to do it all.
It's giving away your power to choose, in a way.
Precisely. And it's not just about doing more stuff. It's about less but better. That's the phrase used.
Less, but better. I like that.
Yeah, because, at a certain point, just pushing harder, doing more things, it doesn't get you better results. You plateau.
Or even go backwards sometimes.
Right. You hit a wall.
So this idea, focusing on what really matters, and it's not just like, a nice thought, is it? There are principles behind it, like the 80-20 rule.
Oh, yeah, the Pareto principle. That's a big one. Roughly, 20% of your efforts often lead to about 80% of the results.
Okay.
And building on that, Joseph Moses Duran talked about the law of the vital few. He found, especially in quality control, that fixing just a tiny fraction of the problems could make a massive difference.
Like the Japan quality revolution example in the book.
Exactly. They focused on those vital few areas, and it completely transformed their manufacturing reputation after the war.
Wow. And it applies elsewhere too, right? Like investing, Warren Buffett.
Yeah, Buffett's a great example. His strategy is famously patient, almost lethargic, as he puts it.
Right.
He makes very few investments, but bets big on the ones he's really sure about.
Yeah.
Something like 90% of his wealth apparently comes from just 10 investments.
Incredible. It really shows that what you don't do matters just as much.
It absolutely does. And the key insight here is that many really capable people get stuck, not because they lack talent, but because they think everything is important. They can't distinguish.
So the skill is learning to discern more so you can actually do less, but better.
That's the core of it, discerning the vital few from the trivial many.
Okay, so we get the idea, focus is key, but how? The next step seems to be about embracing choice.
Yes, the power of choice. The book really emphasizes this. It quotes William James, "My first act of free will shall be to believe in free will."
So it's about cultivating that ability, believing you can choose.
Exactly, developing that muscle in every part of your life. The author even shares a personal story.
About law school.
Yeah, he was halfway through his first year, does this brainstorming exercise about things he actually wanted to do, and law school wasn't even on the list.
Wow, even after all that time invested.
Right, but realizing that, recognizing he still had a choice, was powerful. It shows how easily we forget we have that power. We get stuck.
We feel helpless, maybe, like we're just reacting.
Exactly. We surrender that power. The essentialist actively reclaims it.
Okay, reclaiming choice. But choosing the essential often means, well, saying no to other things. Trade-offs. That's often the hard part.
Definitely. It's crucial, though.
Yeah.
The source brings up Dieter Rams, the Braun designer. His whole philosophy was almost everything is noise.
Filter it out. Get to the essence. Like that clear record player cover.
Exactly. Revolutionary because it removed the non-essential. But saying no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. The author's story about his daughter being born.
Oh, right. You went to a client meeting.
Yeah, felt this immense pressure to say yes to work, even at that moment. And the punchline,
The meeting was pointless.
completely inconsequential. It really shows that tension, doesn't it, between what we know matters and the pressure we feel.
And that leads into the paradox of success, right?
Precisely. You have success, which brings more opportunities.
Which then distract you from the focus that got you the success in the first place.
You got it. Jim Collins called it the undisciplined pursuit of more. It can actually undermine your success.
It's a real trap. The book uses Southwest Airlines as a positive example, though. Herb Kelleher.
Yeah, a classic essentialist strategy. They made deliberate trade-offs. Point-to-point flights, no meals, no assigned seats.
All focused on being low cost.
Exactly. Laser focus.
Mm.
Contrast that with Continental Light, which tried to do both premium and low cost.
And failed because they were straddling. They didn't make the hard choices.
Right. As Michael Porter is quoted, strategy requires trade-offs. You can't be everything. Every yes is a no to something else.
That story about Aaron Callan at Lehman Brothers, gradually losing boundaries until work was everything, that's a stark warning.
It really is. It boils down to either you make the hard choices or circumstances, or other people will make them for you.
And these aren't just business decisions. The book mentions personal trade-offs, too.
Like parents focusing their son's activities for a specific goal, or a couple choosing family time over joining clubs. It's about consciously deciding what gets your yes.
Okay, so discern, choose, make trade-offs. But even then, the world is noisy. How do you find the quiet to actually think? That brings us to space.
Creating space. Yeah, it's critical. There's that anecdote about the executive who had to escape to a motel.
With no internet, just to finish a project.
Right, because the constant pings, email, social media, it's overwhelming. It shows how hard it can be to find focused time.
And it's not just about crisis mode. Bill Gates's Think Week.
Such a great example. Even when Microsoft was crazy busy, he'd take a whole week off grid, just reading, thinking big picture.
That kind of dedicated space. Clearly vital.
And the book suggests we can build mini versions of that into our lives, like maybe reading classic literature for the first 20 minutes of the day.
Instead of grabbing the phone immediately.
Exactly. Just creating small pockets of deliberate, reflective space. It can be really powerful.
So once you have that space, how do you use it effectively? The next idea is look, really seeing what matters.
Right, and this starts with that great story about Nora Ephron's journalism teacher.
Charlie O. Sims.
Yeah. The students report the facts. Meeting Tuesday, speaker announced, etc. And he says, the lead is, there will be no school Thursday.
Huh. Because that's what actually mattered to the readers. It's about the point, not just the facts.
Exactly. Finding the meaning, the significance. And we can get lost in details in our own lives, too, right? Drowning in information, missing the big picture.
Like that tragic Eastern Airlines example.
Yeah, Flight 401.
Yeah.
The crew got so hyper-focused on a small indicator light.
They didn't notice the plane was descending.
Awful. But a powerful metaphor for needing to zoom out. The message is, be a journalist of your own life. Look for the real story.
How do you do that? The book suggests journaling.
Yeah, but writing less, with more insight. Not just listing events, but capturing learnings. Also maybe a quarterly life review to spot patterns.
And that role-playing idea from Ephron, trying to see from other perspectives.
That too. And sometimes it's just about asking the right question. Like in that business simulation story.
Where the team was stuck.
Totally stuck. Until someone asked, wait, what question are we actually trying to answer? Clarifying the question itself brought focus.
Simple but profound. Okay, so clarity and big picture thinking are key. But then the book talks about play. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? Especially in our efficiency-obsessed world, often rooted in, like, the Industrial Revolution model. School, work, they often squeeze out play.
But the book argues play is vital. How does it define play?
Simply is anything done just for the sheer joy of doing it? No other objective.
Okay.
And Stuart Brown, from the National Institute for Play, his research shows play isn't frivolous. It boosts brain plasticity, adaptability, creativity.
So it actually helps with performance and well-being.
Big time. Better health, relationships, learning, innovation.
Yeah.
It connects to everything. Even at work, small things matter, like the Staples Easy button or just playful imagery.
So find ways to bring that joy back. Maybe remember what you loved as a kid.
Exactly. Mine your past for play memories and find ways to recreate that feeling.
Interesting. Alongside play, another fundamental the book stresses is sleep.
Ah, sleep, yes. Often the first thing to go when we're busy.
Totally. Treated like a luxury.
But the book argues it's absolutely non-negotiable. There's that sobering story about Jeff, the CEO.
Well, yeah, the burnout story. Serious health consequences.
Panic attacks, heart issues, blackouts. All from chronic sleep deprivation due to insane travel and overwork. The doctor's ultimatum was stark. lifelong meds, or basically stop everything for a year or two.
Wow. A real wake-up call.
And it's not just avoiding burnout. That study on violinists,
The best ones slept more.
significantly more, like 8.6 hours a night plus naps. Sleep isn't just rest, it's regeneration. It helps consolidate learning, sharpens focus. The better violinists practice better because they slept better.
So it directly impacts performance. That Harvard Business Review article title says it all. Sleep deficit, the performance killer.
Exactly. For an essentialist, sleep isn't laziness. It's protecting your primary asset, yourself.
Right. Protect the asset. Okay, so if you're rested, you have space, you're focused, how do you choose which opportunities get your... Yes, this is select, right? Extreme criteria.
Extreme criteria, yeah. Think of Vitso, the furniture company mentioned. One core product for decades that had shelving system by Dieter Rams.
Because it meets their incredibly high standards.
Precisely. And their hiring process is just as rigorous. Phone interviews first to remove visual bias, multiple interviewers, very selective.
But for us, when opportunities pop up, there's that fear. FOMO. Fear of missing out.
Huge factor. The book offers the 90% rule for that.
If it's not a 90% yes or a hell yes.
Then it's a no. It's a simple filter.
Yeah.
It also mentions the endowment effect, how we overvalue stuff we already have.
Right. So how do you fight that when deciding whether to keep doing something?
Ask the killer question. If I didn't already have this opportunity or wasn't already doing this, what would I be willing to do or pay to acquire it now?
Ooh, that's a good one. It helps detach you.
It does. These tools help cut through the emotion and apply strict criteria, focusing energy only on the truly exceptional things.
Okay, it makes sense for individuals. But what about teams? Lack of clarity there can kill essential efforts too. That leads to the principle of clarity.
Yes, clarity within a group. Lack of it causes, well, confusion, stress, wasted effort on things that don't move the needle.
But high clarity.
Leads to breakthroughs. The key is having a clear, essential intent. Something inspiring, yes, but also concrete. It has to answer. How will we know when we've succeeded?
Like the Brad Pitt Make It Right example.
Perfect example. Not just help New Orleans, but build 150 affordable, green, storm-resistant homes in the lower Ninth Ward. Super specific.
Measurable, actionable, unlike eliminate world hunger.
Exactly. That clear intent provides a roadmap. Everyone knows what success looks like and how they contribute. It focuses the collective energy.
Okay, but what if you look around and realize you're already committed to things that aren't essential based on this new clarity? How do you get out? That's uncommitted.
Uncommit. Yeah. Winning big by cutting your losses. This is tough because of the sunk cost bias.
We hate to feel like we wasted time or money, like the Concorde example.
Classic sunk cost. Amazing technology, financial disaster. But governments kept pouring money in because they'd already spent so much.
We do that in small ways too, right? Finishing a bad movie.
Or the invisible art. I love that. Think about film editing. Best picture often correlates with best editing. Why? Because the editor cuts away everything that doesn't serve the story.
Leaving only the essential, making it stronger.
Exactly. And we need to do that in our lives and work. There's that story of Jin Young finally just saying no to a project.
Without a long apology or explanation.
Right. And the team's reaction was surprisingly positive. Sometimes a clear, simple no is understood and respected.
The book also talks about setting up social contracts, being clear up front about priorities and collaborations.
Yes, proactive editing avoids wasted time later. And also, be aware of the planning fallacy.
We always think things will take less time than they do.
Always. So the advice is add a buffer, maybe 50% to your time estimates. Just be realistic.
And instead of going big immediately, the idea is small wins.
Start small, build momentum. Don't try to boil the ocean. Think minimum viable product, even for personal projects or ideas. Pixar does this iteratively. Test things out.
And visualize progress, like thermometer charts.
Yeah, visually rewarding progress helps maintain motivation. Small, steady steps.
Okay, so edit ruthlessly. Plan realistically. Start small. To support all this, we need buffer. More space.
More buffer. It builds on the space idea. Physical space decluttering. Time buffers gaps between meetings. Emotional space boundaries.
Like building shock absorbers into your life.
Kind of. And routine helps create buffer too. Michael Phelps' pre-race routine.
Made the impossible seem manageable through repetition.
It strengthens those neural pathways. And understanding the habit loop cue, routine, reward lets you intentionally build better routines, creating space for essentials. Charles Duhigg's work.
So buffer and routine help manage the chaos. Then, in the moment itself, it's about focus, being present.
Being fully present. The book mentions the Greek words for time,
Mm.
chronos and kairos.
Chronos is clock time, sequential.
Right. Tick-tock. Kairos is opportune time, qualitative time, when you're fully absorbed in the zone. That's the state the essentialist aims for.
How do you get there more often?
One technique is consciously asking, what's the most important thing right now? Not later, not tomorrow, right now. And also getting future worries or ideas out of your head.
Like writing them down in a journal.
Exactly. Capture them so you can let them go for the moment and be fully present with what's in front of you.
Okay, all these principles build on each other. The final one is B. What does that encompass?
B is about embodying the essentialist life. It uses Mahatma Gandhi as a profound example.
His radical simplicity.
Extraordinary. Reducing himself almost to zero simple clothes, diet, possessions, a day of silence, all to focus intensely on one massive essential goal: liberation.
It shows the power of stripping away everything else.
Immense power. And the book lists others too: Buddha, Moses, Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, Mother Teresa, Thoreau, people across history who lived lives of focused impact by eliminating the non-essential.
It comes back to that paradox of success again, doesn't it? Essentialism is the way out of being spread too thin.
It's presented as the sustainable path. And ultimately, it's a choice. The author describes his own decision to go to Stanford.
Saying no to other good options.
Right. And feeling this immediate sense of clarity and calm, even with uncertainty ahead, because he knew he was aligned with his essential path.
So wrapping this deep dive up, essentialism isn't just a productivity hack, is it?
No, not at all. It's a mindset, a deliberate way of choosing to live, focusing your energy on what truly matters to you.
Which ideally leads to a life with more impact, more meaning, less regret.
That's the promise.
And for you listening, valuing deep knowledge without the overwhelm, hopefully this gives you a solid framework, a shortcut to those core ideas.
Yeah, and maybe a final thought to leave you with. The author highlights his two essentials: family and the fact that time is finite, really finite.
So the challenge becomes, how can you be more, maybe unreasonably selective about how you spend that precious time?
To really live a life true to what matters most to you.
Maybe just pick one area. Where could you apply one of these ideas starting today? What's truly essential for you? And how can you make just a little more space for it? Something to think about.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.